Welcome to All Things Food. I'm John Woods, the channel where we not only love to cook, but we cook to love. And today we're going to cook some vegetable beef stew, soup, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be just like your grandma made, maybe even a little better. I'm going to show you how to do it. Most important thing about this recipe, and just about any other recipe that you do, is that you do the proper mise en place. That means getting everything in its place. And you notice I have all my ingredients right here. And they're not just randomly put out here on the table. They're in the order that I'm going to use them. So basically, pretty much, I can go through this entire process of cooking this soup today without looking at a recipe book, because everything's in the exact order that I need. We have 2 or 3 pots up here. We have one we're going to cook our vegetable soup in. We have our our beef stock right over here. And then we have this where we're going to cook our meat. So I'm going to go ahead and heat these up. Go ahead and I'm going to put some high smoke point oil in here, some avocado oil, just enough to cover the bottom of the pan there. We'll get that good and hot. And that one's already nice and hot. Turn it down just a little bit. Smoking a little bit, that's exactly what we want. And we're going to go ahead and cook our meat. Now I've cut this meat into small chunks, small pieces. We're going to put them in here, and we really want these to get brown. And we don't want to overcrowd the skillet. What happens if you overcrowd? Well, you get a lot of moisture, and it's going to steam, and we don't want to steam the meat. We want to cook it and get a nice Maillard reaction on it. While that's going, we're going to come over here and put our onions in there. We're going to caramelize these onions. We're going to multitask here. Got that down on low. Turn that meat over. If it sticks, leave it alone and let it cook some more. Now, if you use, this is fresh meat here. If you use a frozen meat out of a package, you're going to remember there's going to have a lot of moisture content in it, and you're going to need to cook out all that moisture. So at some point, you may need to drain that off into a colander to get rid of some of the moisture. Now, these are getting good and caramelized. I don't know if you can see those there good in the camera. I have a little bit of garlic salt I'm going to add to this meat just to give it a little more flavor. All right, while that's cooking, these are caramelizing really good. I'm going to take my mushrooms. These are portobellos. And you notice I didn't slice these mushrooms. I cut them into about 6 pieces, into 6. So they're nice big chunks. I'm going to throw those in here. And we're going to cook those down a little bit until all the moisture's out of them. Get you a little bit of kosher salt and sprinkle on there. And that salt is going to help draw some of the moisture out of the onions as well as the mushrooms. Notice how there's a little bit of moisture down there in that beef. We're going to cook that out some. Come back over here. We can go ahead and take that beef out of there. Notice I'm putting it into a little strainer here just to get that moisture off of it. In a second, I'm going to show you another little trick that's really going to help elevate the flavor in our soup. Stir these up. They're looking pretty good. It's about time to add the garlic. I'm going to turn that heat down a little bit. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of chopped garlic. We add that in now because we didn't want to, if we added it earlier, it would burn. Keep that stirred up. Take some rosemary, fresh rosemary, 1 tablespoon. Fresh thyme, 1 tablespoon. And we're going to put that in there and let it cook some. Now over here in this other skillet where we were cooking our beef, I'm going to take some of my tomato paste. We're going to put in here and cook that just a minute until it gets a mahogany look on it. And what that's going to do is actually help develop some more flavor here. So put that in there. Just keep it stirred up really good. Look at all that flavor in the bottom of that pan, cooking that beef. Now we're cooking this here. Come over here and keep this stirred up a little bit more. We're just about to cook all the moisture out of this. So what we're going to do after we cook the moisture out of it, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to take some port wine. You don't have to use wine. You can use chicken or beef stock if you want to, but I like to use the port wine because I think it gives it some more extra added flavor. Keep that stirred up over here. Again, you don't have to do all this at the same time. Do it 1 step at a time if you're more comfortable with it. Let's go ahead and add some port wine to it, about 1 cup. If I can get it open. We're going to add about 1 cup in there. In fact, we're going to add about 1.5 cups and go ahead and use that bottle up. And what we're going to do now is we're going to turn this heat up just a little bit, bring it up to a boil, and then we're going to reduce it and then let that moisture in there reduce down to almost nothing. And what I want to do now is come over here and deglaze this pan because we have all that flavor down in the bottom of that. Take a little bit of my beef stock. We're going to put it right on the bottom of there and deglaze that pan. I could have actually done that with the wine, but I used all my wine already. Look at all that flavor in there. You can't see it, but you can smell it. We're going to stir that in until that dissolves. That's going to help also thicken up our, not only give flavor to this, but it's going to help thicken it up a good bit. We're going to dissolve all of that, get it down there, get all that goodness off the bottom. Now we're going to come right over here and put all that right into that pot. We've cooked this down a little bit. Now I've got some crushed tomatoes here. These were hand crushed tomatoes. This is like a 32-ounce can or 28, something like that. And again, all the ingredients, the recipe will be in the description box below, detailed so you don't have to keep track of all this. I'll tell you exactly how to do it in that description box. But we're going to go ahead and dump these in here. Boy, don't they look beautiful. Now we're going to take our carrots. That's about 3 or 4 carrots. You can use as many as you want. So that's probably about 3 cups full of carrots, and you can slice those carrots or you can do an oblique cut like I did. Now you don't want to get your carrots too small because what will happen is that they'll overcook, and you don't want to overcook your carrots. You still want them to be a little al dente, just a little firmness to them when you're done with the soup here. And then we have about 3 ribs of celery. Now this is my pet peeve. When I watch some of these people on YouTube, they always refer to this as a stalk of celery. And they'll say, put in 3 stalks of celery. Obviously, if you put in 3 stalks of celery, you'd have about 20 cups of celery or more. This here is a rib of celery, not a stalk of celery. So make sure we get that clarified here. So we're going to put in about 3 ribs of celery. We're going to dice it up, probably a good 1/4 inch or better dice. And we're going to throw this in there. If you like a lot of celery, go ahead and add some more. Nothing says that you have to do it exactly the way that I'm doing it today. Now that we have all this goodness going in the pot here, we have our meat. It's all browned. It looks really nice. Beautiful meat there. All the moisture is off of it. It's been seasoned with a little bit of garlic salt. And we're going to go ahead and put that in here. Dump it all right in. Let's go ahead and stir it around, get it all worked down into there. Now this is really, really looking good. I can hardly wait to try this out. I've got my beef stock over here, and we've got all of our meat and all of our vegetables in here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring enough beef stock in here to cover this up by about 2 inches. But see how all that's pretty firm in there? That's more like a stew than it is a soup. I'm going to go ahead and cover this up about 2 inches above the meat there. Those are 1 cup ladles, 4 ladles, 5, looks like about 6 cups. There you go, folks. All we have to do is hurry up and wait here. We're going to let this cook for about 45 minutes. We're going to bring it up to a boil. And as soon as we bring it up to a boil, we're going to reduce it down to a simmer. Now, a boil really rolls and bubbles up. Now, a simmer is when you just barely have bubbles up around the edges. And it's really important to know the difference between a boiling pot and a simmering pot. And so we want this to come to a boil, then we're going to reduce it down to a simmer. And then we have some other things we're going to do. Remember, we have the potatoes and we have some other vegetables we're going to add in here. And then we're going to show you, I'm going to show you how to thicken this up the easy way. Alrighty, folks, we've got it to a boil here. I'm going to cut it down and reduce it down to a simmer to where we'll just have bubbles coming up around the edge. We've been cooking about 45 minutes here. It's been we brought it to a boil, then reduced it down to a simmer. Now here's an important part that we always need to do. A good chef or a good cook always taste what they're cooking. So I put a little bit in here and I've cooled it off, and we're going to taste it to see if it needs any more seasoning to it. Tastes like all the flavors have married together. Now here's a little secret. If you think you need more flavor in your soup, I like this better than beef bouillon. Put a little bit in there, but remember, this has a high salt content. So just put it in there sparingly, let it cook 3 or 4 minutes to let all that salt dissipate into the soup, and then taste it. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and add our potatoes. I cut these potatoes into small cubes like that. Remember, consistency in cutting is consistency in cooking. And so those are about maybe 1/2-inch cubes here. You can see those, and they're all consistently sized. We're going to go ahead and drop those in here. I've drained all the water off of them. Go ahead and put those in. That's about 3 potatoes. That's really going to bulk up this soup quite a bit. Stir those in. Let's let them cook about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we're going to thicken this up, and you're going to love this little trick that I'm going to show you in just a minute. Our potatoes are getting kind of tender. They're still a little firm, but they're tender enough, and we want to thicken this up a little bit. At least I do. You can leave it exactly like this, but I like to thicken it up just a tad. So what I'm going to do is come over here, take my little strainer there, push it down into the broth. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add probably 3 or 4 tablespoons of flour. Get more on the countertop than I get in here. We're just going to work that in just like this. So we'll just work that in just like this. Go ahead and discard that. What we're going to do is let this continue to simmer for another few minutes to go ahead and cook those potatoes, and also to cook out the flour taste. About 15 minutes is what you need to do with that. And this is going to thicken up. It's looking really, really nice. We thicken this up a little bit with our flour, and we let it cook out about 15 minutes to get that floury taste out of it. Now the final step of this, we have our vegetables, and I call these our soft vegetables. I'm going to add about 3 cups of corn in here. We didn't want to overcook these. I'm going to add about 2.5, 3 cups of peas. These are all frozen. And then I have 2 small cans of green beans. I drained the water off of those. We're going to throw those in there. We're going to let that cook another 5 minutes or so, and we're going to have some stew or some soup, vegetable, beef soup, all ready to plate up. Doesn't that look beautiful? Now what you can do, if this is thicker than you want it to be, go ahead and take some more of your broth over here and go ahead and add to it. At this point, I'm going to add just a little bit. It's a little thicker than I wanted. Add that in there. Thin it up just a tad. Let it cook. It is going to thicken up a little bit more as it cooks. And there you have it. That took about 2 hours. This is full of flavor. This is a one-pot meal. You got your vegetables, you have your beef, and it's so, so delicious. Be sure to like this video today. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Remember, above all things, not only love to cook, but cook to love, and go out and cook you some vegetable beef soup, stew, whatever you want to make it. It's going to be really, really good. See you next time.